Chapter 5, Orchestral Instruments. In Chapter 6, we're going to grab the keyboard instruments out of that. So these chapters are organized like this. It goes through a family of instruments, and it says, well, how do they make their basic sound? How do they change the color of that sound? How do they play different notes? And how do they mechanically start and stop their sounds? And it goes through the string instruments. It starts with violin, then the viola, then the cello, and the double bass, and the harp. That's a family of instruments. And then it goes through all of those things in some detail. How do they make sound? How do they change their basic color of the sound? How do they regulate pitch? That means actually playing different notes. And how do they start and stop? And then woodwinds. It goes and does the same thing. Brass instruments, percussion instruments. So you're going to go through them and get all that information out in bullet form or point form, and you're going to fill it out on this table here. So it says instrument name by family. These are the strings right there. See, strings. And you're going to say, well, how does it produce its sound? How does it change its color or timbre? How does it change pitches or regulate pitch? And how does it start and stop? You don't have to write out paragraphs here on this chart. You're going to download this and then print it. And you're going to take the basic information and put it into 1 or 2 bullet points so you can have a study guide for all these things. This chart goes on. Then there's the woodwind instruments, and they're listed up for you. And then there's the brass instruments, and they're listed up. And then there's a ton of percussion instruments, all right? And then from chapter 26, there's a lot of other things there. In chapter 26, it talks about wind band instruments and the voice. For this, we're just going to ignore that and go to these historically important instruments right here, the harpsichord, piano, and pipe organ. There's a section in chapter 6 which is keyboard instruments. But you're going to do the same thing. Take all that information, fill that out, and then you're going to upload pictures of your work so that I can see that you did it and that you have a good working copy of this, and then you can study from it. That's the first activity from here. Okay, the second activity is a scavenger hunt. There's one more document that will be up there. So here's how it works. Here's all 28 instruments from that table that you're going to be filling out right there. Okay? And you go and start doing this. Like, have you seen a picture of it other than in the textbook? So go find another picture on the internet or somewhere. Okay? Check those boxes. It means that you've gone the next step to make sure that you can say, oh, I know what that instrument looks like. Have you listened to the audio of the instrument? Again, other than the textbook. And you can go down that list right there. And could you recognize the instrument in a picture? Right? If I popped one up there and said, what's this? You'd say, oh, that's an oboe or something. And then, have you seen the instrument played live or in a video, or even played the instrument? All of those would count. And finally, could you recognize the instrument in an audio clip? Well, that's a lot of things because there's 28 instruments in 5 categories. I'll put up a chart of how many things equals what grade. And you should be prepared when you take this checklist to say, yep, I saw it here or there. And I'll put up some suggestions where you can start to look. Now, this is kind of a lot of work. It's not a one-day project. It's going to go from Thursday, Friday, Saturday, and Sunday. So you got 4 days to make this table right here, right? Even maybe Monday morning, it'll be due on Monday, right? And then 4 or 5 days to scavenger hunt and look for these sources, okay? You're fine collaborating with your fellow students or getting help from other people. Make sure when you check off that box, you make a little note, where did you do it or how did you do it, right? Yeah, and that's a ton of work, but really worthwhile because it means that you have learned about the instruments and taken the next step to see if you can get, better acquainted and have more than one passing experience with what they look like, what they sound like, that kind of thing. And then finally, there's a podcast that goes along with this to help you start to hear these instruments more in the context of other pieces and kind of get you ready for the unit test. All right, so space the chart out. There's 6 families. You got 5 days, right? And then the scavenger hunt, again, for the different kinds of things. And I'll put up a grade scale inside Canvas of how many boxes you need to have checked for what kind of grade. All right, in the end, you're going to take pictures of all these things and put them back up on the internet to prove you did it and to get points for it.